This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSPORT Fan Network. TalkSPORT. Powered by fans.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Red Side of the Trent. As Forest show great bounce back ability after losing 5-0 last week to Bournemouth by stuffing or slam dunking Brighton 7-0. I'm delighted to be joined by Reese Lane and Lee Clark. Reese, first of all, I just want your overall thoughts really, because it's kind of a bit of a pinch yourself moment, I suppose, as you walk out the City ground along out towards Lady Bay Bridge or whichever way you go out your end of the ground. But yeah, must have been brilliant.
I think there's responses and then there's responses, isn't there? I don't think anyone could have dreamt up that response. So, yeah, honestly, more than perfect. And it was like surreal, really, walking out what you kind of witnessed. So, yeah, fabulous.
Lee, it's the biggest win. The first time also we scored 5 in a Premier League game since 1995 when we beat Sheffield Wednesday 7-1 away at Hillsborough. Your thoughts as well, because I mean, Brighton don't really get beat like that either, which is commendable to us, I guess.
I guess it's kind of serves them right, doesn't it? Coming to us and playing the team that are third in the league with 5 attackers on the pitch. I mean, there's been brave and there's just been playing stupid. Did it work for them? So, yeah, it was a nice feeling and very nice to see 4 goals in front of me in the Trent end for a change.
Yeah, brilliant. Reece, we'll get straight into the team. Change of shape and personnel from Nuno in response to last week. We went 3-4-2-1, bit of a Christmas tree, kind of a Christmas tree, oblong Christmas tree. Danilo come in for a surprise first start in a long time since he obviously broke his ankle first game of the season, and Morata came into a back 3 replacing Jota Silva and Ryan Yates. What did you make of that lineup? And then also I want your thoughts, especially like what Lee just touched on about Brighton's lineup, because I messaged Joe Sayers, who came on the podcast, and was like, what the heck, what on earth are you playing?
Yeah, I mean, our lineup, I don't think anyone would have predicted that for sure. So it was an interesting one. So we've done this season, just got to trust the manager, haven't we? Their lineup, I mean, yeah, Martin Keown touched on it on Match of the Day. He actually called it disrespectful to us, their lineup. You know, he said they basically played, one centre mid who's, Hinshelwood, what is he, 20, something like that? Not exactly like a Rodri type of agent in the level. So, and they just got exploited time and time again. So, obviously with the scoreline, Nuno got it spot on, and Hertzler got sent back to St. Pauli by him.
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable. I mean, Lee, was you quite surprised to see Danilo back in so soon, especially like with no real sub appearances apart from that one in the FA Cup, obviously, because we're not seeing him even on the bench since then, weirdly.
Yeah, it was a surprise for me, just purely because we've got so much quality in the middle of the pitch. Obviously there's been the discussion among the fan base, whether it's Dominguez or whether it's Yates, that plays in there with Anderson, and Nuno went and kind of double-sixed everyone and played Danilo instead. But I mean, it was a little bit surprising, but I wasn't at all bothered by it. I think the sooner we can get him back and get him back up to speed, the better, really. And he did okay yesterday.
I think that shows as well how highly Nuno rates Danilo, because he was his starter on opening day, and he's not even played a minute since then in the Premier League, and he's got enough faith in him to start yesterday. So it probably shows him he's at the start of the season was probably his number 1 centre midfielder, really.
Yeah, I was delighted to see him back, and we'll touch on Danilo a bit more in detail. But Lee, will stick yourself for the first goal. Lewis Dunk own goal. I mean, own goals must join a plethora of players on one goal for this season now in the Forest ranks. But Morgan Gibbs-White in behind after a great Danilo pass, actually. And it was like, I don't know, freedom of the city, I guess, for Morgan Gibbs-White to pick a pass and he put it in an area where Dunk couldn't really do much about it, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, you alluded to it there. I think regardless of who we all want to play in centre midfield, frankly, if Danilo's not on the pitch, that first pass doesn't happen in the first place, does it? He's the only one of our centre midfielders that can, whether it's Dominguez or Yates, they don't make that pass. They can't see that pass. And that's what Danilo does bring us. He brings us that little sprinkling of Brazilian flair, doesn't he? So, yeah, it's weird, actually, because from where I sit, it actually looked as though we didn't really know what had happened. We just saw the net kind of ripple after a Gibbs-White cross. So we weren't sure if he'd kind of put it straight in or what. But, yeah, it was a great passage of play. And, yeah, it was nice to see us score first early and then continue the momentum. We didn't kind of sit back and think... I'm not saying we've done that this season, but I think because of what happened in the Southampton game, I think it was important to keep our foot on the gas. And thankfully we did that yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, Reece, I thought Brighton tried to come back into it a little bit, but then I think to win the corner before 2-0, I think Gibbs-White puts in Chris Wood, and Chris Wood almost, I mean, he sits Van Hecker down, I think it is, but then it's a good recovery. But on the commentary, I think Darren Fletcher and Joe Cole were saying basically like Forest have got a lot of height, and it was really reiterated in my WhatsApp group of how tall we looked compared to Brighton. Yet one of the smallest men on the pitch has scored from the near post. I mean, it's nice to score from a set piece. You're on mute, mate.
My bad. I says, how much space did Brighton want to give Morgan Gibbs-White? I mean, the first goal, like Lee just said, he literally had acres into down that right side, and it was Lamptey every time. And then, the second, he's just made a run, and nobody's followed him. And Gibbs-White really there, he's probably just trying to get a flick into an area, and if it goes in like it did, brilliant. But obviously, if he puts it into that kind of corridor of uncertainty, someone else can get on the end of it. But he flicks it. The goalkeeper just can't react quick enough, and it's 2-0. It's just so easy for us. And it's a strange thing from their perspective is we had a corner not long after. I think it's where Wood had the shot where Verbruggen tipped it over, and they did it again. And Gibbs-White got a flick header again, and this time it did go into that middle, and unfortunately we couldn't turn it in. So it was just, straight off the training ground for us, wasn't it? And Brighton just let us do it. So when teams let you do that, as we've seen last week, as we've seen with Southampton the week before, you get punished at this level. So it was great to see us punish them.
Yeah, I mean, Nico Williams hits the post shortly after from another crossfield ball from Gibbs-White, who was, honestly, he was unplayable in that first half. He was everywhere.
So much space down the flanks. It was ridiculous.
It wasn't even just down the right. He was just everywhere. Like he was like a buzzing bee. It was great to see. And then Lee, terrific wing play from Anthony Elanga, which is something that I've kind of been critical of him in the past. Obviously, he had that nice purple patch from Villa onwards for a bit. But the what I'm talking about is get a yard and cross the ball in when he can. And it's on the money for Chris Wood. He does not miss those chances.
Yeah, he was outstanding yesterday. I think he deserves all the same plaudits that Gibbs-White's getting, to be fair. I think he was, he's more than... I said all along on previous podcasts that when we were calling for Elanga to be dropped and stuff like that, I think he just needed that one goal. And that goal against Villa, his form since then has been unbelievable. It's been like watching Elanga of last season. But yeah, I mean, what a delivery. I mean, his play yesterday was just superb. I just can't rave about him highly enough. I'm sure he'll be featuring the player performances later, but yeah, it was just really good. I actually thought he'd overhit the cross to Wood, to be honest. But again, just a little bit deceiving from where I sit, I suppose. But I thought he'd put too much on it. But thankfully, he got his head to it and it ended up in the back of the net. With how long it took for the VAR check to have a do its bits and bobs, I did fear it was going to get chalked off. But yeah. We managed to get one on our side this time, I suppose.
I don't know where these automated offsides have gone. They were meant to come like after the November international break. We've still not seen them, and the angle they show on telly is no better. To be honest, it's so like.
So what it was meant to come in the October break, and then the Premier League decided that rather than do the system what Europe have got at the minute, we're going to go to this new system because it's the most updated version of it. And that was actually going to come in at the November break, but actually it's basically a snag, and now it's not coming in all season. So, why not just get it in the normal version, and then when this updated version one comes out, then we'll change to that. But this is the Premier League way, isn't it? And they wonder why, they get criticised. But, moving on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Reece, we'll just touch on Daniel Welbeck's effort that hits the crossbar. I mean, Lee, you might be able to jump in here because you're at that end. I mean, I don't know if you've got to credit Solskjaer because he actually does get a tip to it. I don't know if you see it, Lee, at your end, but it's an unbelievable save. And to be fair, it's kind of a key moment because I think if Brighton score, because they did look good going forward, I thought they weren't that bad going forward. It was just the other end. They could maybe have a sniff of similar to how Southampton did, where they got a bit of a lucky break. But what did you make of that chance at that time?
I mean, it's a brilliant save, like you say, Adam. I mean, from my end, I've got no idea if he got a touch on it, but I watched Match of the Day last night and saw he got the faintest of touches, and I think that actually does keep it out. I mean, from Brighton's perspective, I mean, as you look, because I think the ball's 3/4 over, isn't it? So it's very unlucky. But there was a couple of times where we got caught in possession. I think that was Chris Wood that time, and also Danilo, and Minter went through, and Sells made another very good save where, he come out, spread his legs open, and he just managed to keep it out from going underneath his legs. So, like you said, and that was a big moment because after the Saints game, it would have got you a little bit jittery had it gone to 3-1. Brighton we know Brighton are good at going forward. We knew they were going to be good at going forward. It was just, can they defend, which they can't, and that's why we picked them up. But just showed you it's a team game, isn't it? And even though Sells didn't have, I'd say, lots and lots to do yesterday, the moments he had to do, he did them superbly.
I mean, they're always going to be good going forward, weren't they? With 5 attackers playing. I mean, that was a given, I suppose. I actually didn't think he saved it. It wasn't until I saw Match of the Day this morning, actually, that I realised he'd saved it. But yeah, great save. And yeah, I think he saved from, was it Minter? The one-on-one? Yeah, I think that save was brilliant as well. So yeah, when you look's in, I suppose it's in. And like you say, if they had scored at that point, everyone, even the players, would have started thinking, "Oh God, here we go again." It's Southampton deja vu. But yeah, thankfully the luck was on our side yesterday.
Yeah, well, half time, Fabian Hertzler made 3 subs. He hooked Jack Hinshelwood off, Matoma and João Pedro. I mean, this is how, I mean, Brighton have got a plethora of like talent that they can bring on, and they brought it on. The early pressure, I mean, which was always going to come, Reece, but we repelled that and then went and scored a pretty substandard kind of counter-attack goal. And Anthony Elanga does Anthony Elanga things. I mean, and he absolutely burns Lewis Dunk. And I suppose this is where you've got the pod title from, in a sense, because he's absolutely got tormented, Lewis Dunk did.
Yeah, because I was literally screaming at Elanga to run at him when he were one-on-one face up with him, because Lewis Dunk, what's he in his 30s now, 33, something like that. He's obviously not got a turn of pace. I was like, run at him, and he ran at him, and he absolutely burnt him. And that's exactly what I want to see from wingers. And he puts a cross in. Wood does what Wood does. He peels off the back of Van Hecke, gives him that yard of space, and you'll get 10 of them a season if Elanga's doing that, won't he? So yeah, just brilliant from Elanga, and that killed it. And that element of that had gone because, like you said, Adam, they was going to have a response from being 3-0 down at half time. They were going to have probably 10 minutes where we were going to have to weather a little bit of a storm, which we did. And as soon as we got that 4th goal, I felt like Bournemouth did last week, where you think, right, we're smelling a bit of blood here. These are finished. It's 4-0. Let's put them to the sword. Let's get that goal difference back from last week, claw it back. And we did that with a plum and added a couple more. And to be honest, when we got a 7th, I think we actually went a little bit easy on them because we probably could have pushed for another because there's still time left. But yeah, just brilliant to see us quash that doubt from the Southampton game, because like me and Lee have just said, it would have got a little bit jittery, wouldn't it? I think if they'd got one back.
It shows like also the quality of defender we're facing, because Antti Langer went similar 1v1 v Van Dijk, and Van Dijk's body position and how he defends Langer to go where he wants to go, whereas Lewis Dunk just had no control of that situation. He just let him run past him, but
he's just not got the pace of Van Dijk, has he? Dunk? He's
absolutely not. Lee for 5-0 and the first Forest Ground hat trick in the top flight since 1987, which was Nigel Clough. Chris Wood scores from the penalty spot after Tariq Lamptey commits GBH on Morgan Gibbs-White in the penalty area. I mean, what on earth what were Brighton doing? I don't get it. It's very strange.
Yeah, it was odd. I think since you've asked me about this goal, I'll use. Obviously, we mentioned the referees and the officials when they're bad, but I actually thought yesterday's performance from Hooper was probably the best referee performance we've had this season. I'm not just saying that because we won 7-0. I thought he was consistent throughout. I actually thought his first card was really, really soft, but he did them all. He had 3 in the first half, and they were all for very similar situations. So consistency is all we ask for, I guess, isn't it? What I find really interesting in these situations, and it happens at my level as well, is the referee doesn't have to say to the players, look, I can see you grappling with each other. He doesn't have to do that. He can just wait for it to come in. But the common sense approach is to tell them, and then they've got nowhere to go. And everyone in the Trent then saw him tell both of them, pack it in sort of thing. Don't do it. You're just going to give a free kick away or a penalty. And then as soon as the ball's kicked, he just wrestles him to the floor. It was just, and when he gave the penalty, he's almost looked at him as though to say, I didn't tell you. So yeah, it was nice to see. I think next season there's going to be a big crackdown on those sort of situations. So defensive, the set piece coaches, I suppose, are going to start earning the money a little bit more because that sort of thing, in theory, should be penalised a little bit more often from next season. But yeah, I never felt that Wood would miss. He just seems really good at pens, doesn't he? He just seems really relaxed, really calm, and he's in brilliant form at the moment. So yeah, great to see him get a hat trick. And as we saw on social media afterwards, all the players clearly enjoyed celebrating it with him in the dressing room afterwards.
Can we just both, or all three of us, just chip in on Chris Wood, because that's 17 goals for the season. I mean, he bettered his best season ever with the first one, and then he's gone and just added a few more to it, sprinkled a few more on top. But what a striker! I mean, the efficiency. I think I've seen somewhere he's scored 17 goals from 30 shots on target, Reece, which is like ludicrous.
People will be like, obviously, he's not at this level thought of in the footballing world, but he's like our version of Erling Haaland, isn't he? You put it on a plate for him, he's going to be in the position, and, he makes it look simple, don't he? It might be like yesterday, it's a tapping of a header, it's a tapping in the box, and it's a penalty, but you've got to be, as a striker, in the positions to make that happen, and he just makes it look easy by, peeling off his man, and like Lee just said, penalty. I mean, Morgan Gibbs-White already had his arms in the air before he took it. So he always strikes a penalty well. None of this woke, stuttering nonsense like we get on nowadays. And yeah, I mean, what can you say? I mean, if someone would have said to you, what we got, is it 14 games left now, aren't they? I think if someone would have said to you, they got 17 goals for the season at the start, you'd have snapped the hand off. So to be on 17 with 14 left, he's probably going to be looking at trying to get 25 goals, isn't he? It's about, what's that, 8 in 14, so nearly 1 in 2. I think definitely go past 20, which is, absolutely ridiculous. So, yeah, fair play to him. He's been under Nuno, as has, I can name quite a lot of players, as under Nuno, have just gone to the next level. And you've got to give testament to Nuno and his team for that, because he's improved so many players.
Yeah, I mean, it might be a controversial take, but I actually think Wood's form is the reason that we'll probably struggle to bring anyone in before the deadline, I think, because it's such a tough sell to say to any forward player who's going to come in, look, you're not going to be first choice. And I get that people will say, oh, just go and get a youngster from Brazil or something, but they're not going to uproot their whole life and potentially not play any football, because they're going to look at the team. We're third in the league. We've got a striker who's got 17 goals now. They're going to think, well, I'm not going to play, so I'm not going to go. So yeah, I think that's making our transfer business really tricky. But obviously, it's not a bad thing. The issue obviously comes. I get what people are saying is if Wood gets injured, then all of a sudden we're in a situation where we might struggle for goals a little bit. But what was pleasing yesterday was obviously other players have chipped in as well. So yeah, I mean, fair play to him. He's in. I think Shearer's said it on Match of the Day a few times. He's in the form of his life, isn't he? He's like a fine wine. He's just getting better the older he gets. And do you know what? It's interesting because I never feel like he's purposely having a dig at Cooper for not picking him. But every time he gets asked, he really is keen to reiterate that he's in this form because he's got a manager who's said to him, right, you're my first choice striker. Whether you go on 5 games without scoring, you're my first choice striker sort of thing. And I think that confidence from a manager is very understated, to be honest. And obviously he's repaid his manager back in abundance, I guess, with the goals he's scoring.
Yeah, Alan Shearer mentioned. Sorry, Adam. Alan Shearer mentioned that before Euro '96. I think he'd gone a calendar year for England not scored, and Terry Venables said to him, "When Euro '96 comes around, you're going to be my striker, regardless." And he says, as a striker, said that filled me with so much confidence, and he had a really good tournament. But I mean, Wood's going to probably get in the 100 club with us, isn't he? He's 40 and off. He went above yesterday. So it was Carlos Tevez, Luis Saha, Fernando Torres, and Eden Hazard. So some proper star names there, and level with Christian Benteke. I couldn't believe he got 86 Prem goals, but and now he's one off Dennis Bergkamp, so it's not bad. So next season he's probably going to break that 100 barrier, isn't he? He's not. If he carries on this ratio, he's going to go close this season. Next season, I'd imagine he'd break it, which is superb for him and superb for Forest.
He can get 1-1 for the rest of the season, sure. What's stopping him? I mean, just to counter what you said, Lee, about a Brazilian coming, are they not watching the Premier League and going, "Oh, I won't mind learning off him"?
Possibly. I mean, yeah, I know what you mean. Possibly, but I just think it's a tough sell because if any player in football is going to move in this window, they're going to want to go somewhere where they're playing. And I just think our team is really settled at the minute. It's going to make signing anyone really challenging, I think.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, and a nice difficult kind of decision and situation to be in because we're doing so well. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's brilliant, and I mean you can't buy goals very often. It's hardest position to buy, and I'd say striker, isn't it? So, but we'll move swiftly on. Reece 6-0, followed after a bit of a goalmouth scramble. I mean, it was unlucky that Tyrell Wundy didn't actually score this initial chance after a great ball. I think I don't know who plays the pass into him. You might have to remind me, but it's a great ball. And then a bit of a goalmouth scramble involving Ibrahim Sangare, who's returned as well as a substitute yesterday. And a bit of I think he's become a bit of a fan favourite now, Nico Williams, but it's an absolute unbelievable finish, by the way. I know it's only 6 yards out, but it's like literally stanchion.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Tyrell does brilliantly well. I think he chops inside Van Hecker, who had an absolute nightmare. I mean, yesterday, and he just let Wood peel off him all day, and then Tyrell's chopping him inside, and he hits the target, makes the keeper aware. As a striker, he'll probably be disappointed he hasn't scored there. And then, Sangare chests it down. You're thinking, God, can he get a goal, which would be absolutely perfect? And then he's actually fouled, I thought. I mean, Minter bundles into him, and it actually makes him pretty much handle the ball, and then it breaks away, and Nico Williams just picks out the top corner, isn't it? I've seen a few people on Twitter saying about Sangare's handball and not mentioning that he was bundled over. So I think that's why the VAR just let it go, didn't they? Lee might correct me. I just think it would either have been a penalty or the goal. So why rule the goal out to give a penalty? That would just be ridiculous. And yeah, delighted for Nico because he was really unlucky in the first half. That shot he had, it had beat the goalkeeper all ends up, and it's at the other side of the post. And he's deserved it with his performances. He got the shirt at Manchester United away, and I think we've lost one game since then and won pretty much most of them. So I think as a fan, all you can ask for is players who, you have to play well at this level, because if not, you're going to get punished, but who actually give their all, give it 100% every game, stick to the task, and, do what they need to do to keep that shirt. And you cannot accuse Nico not doing any of them. He's been fabulous. And another one, I just mentioned Chris Wood. I don't like digging previous manager because I love Steve Cooper, but Nico Williams was all over the place. Once under Steve Cooper, he was in, he was out. He was one point, he was, I think, fourth choice right back, and Nuno's moved him over to left back, and it's fit like hand to glove, hasn't it? And he's never looked back. So it's brilliant to see we're reaping the rewards of it, and long may it continue.
Yeah, and I mean, we weren't done there, Lee, because Brighton insisted we score more goals by giving us the ball immediately from kickoff from Bart Verbruggen. I mean, do you know, like everyone goes on about playing a certain way of football in the Premier League, and it's like, oh, let's play out from the back and all this. How many times do you see this happen where the goalkeeper gives the ball away and they're meant to be like this kind of 11th man, aren't they? Spare man to start attacks, and it's just. I'm glad we don't do this because my head would be falling off. It would be Christian hot, as me and Reece call it.
Yeah, I mean, it's bugbear number 1,000 and God knows how many of modern day football. It's not just the Premier League. I don't know if this is what Pep Guardiola has created with his tiki-taki rubbish. Yeah, it's at all levels. I go to do academy games at various football league clubs, and they're all trying to do it. And you've got experienced ex-pros in the dugout pulling their ear out and encouraging them to play it at the same time. It's really weird, and I find it really strange. So yeah, it was good to see a team get punished by doing it. I never really understand the concept of you're playing goal for a reason. I know that modern day goalkeepers have to be better with their feet. Just get rid of it. You're 6-0 down. Just get rid of it. Thankfully they didn't, and I was exhausted, to be fair, by the end of it. Yesterday, I'd only just sat down in my seat from the chance previous, and next minute I look at the pitch and Jota's just racing in on goal. I was exhausted, but good at the same time. So yeah, I agree with you. I never understand why teams do it. God, yeah, it's just bizarre, wasn't it? I just don't know what they would. I don't know what their game plan was from minute one yesterday, to be fair. So yeah, it was great to see a team get punished by trying to foolishly play out like that.
Can I just say as well, I think when the 7th went in, it just gets a bit more high-pitched, doesn't it, the cheer? When you go past 6, and obviously they bring the brackets out, don't they, on the video printer with foot 7 in them. I think there was a bit more of a higher cheer. And just to touch on Jota as well, because, we mentioned about him being quite erratic recently and coming off the bench, he's just chucking himself on the floor. He's not really having an impact. Yesterday, summed that performance up from him because he come on and he was like the Jota what we saw at the start of the season, what fans were saying, look, get him in the team. He was actually looking to create stuff rather than, trying to con the referee, really. So that was brilliant to see. So hopefully we've got that player back, what we had at the start of the season, what so many fans want in the team, and he can start to make an impact again like he did yesterday.
Yeah, that goal will hopefully give him a lot of confidence because it was a good finish, actually, like through the legs, I think, of Verbruggen or underneath him anyway. But yeah, it was a good finish. And yeah, like Lee said, you're exhausted from all the celebrating, but at least you were exhausted at like 2:30 in the afternoon, Lee. You can have a little bit of a siesta in the afternoon, I guess, and have a little nap after all that. But no, it's great display, great to bounce back how we did, and what a weird Premier League, like 5-0 away at Bournemouth, to lose and without barely like laying a glove on them, and then we do exactly the same to Brighton, but with even more devastating effect. And yeah, great to see, and great character from the team, really. And it kind of summed it up all in the dressing room. Morgan Gibbs-White's 100th appearance as well for the club, and he's now on, I think, 11 goal contributions this season, along with Anthony Langer. So it's been a good day all around. But we will get into some slept on it thoughts because this podcast is already going on so long for 7 goals. So we'll get into them now.
Red side of the Trent. Slept on it thoughts.
I'll try and rattle through these. Alex, when I saw the Brighton lineup, I knew we'd have success. They've been ropey this season with results, but rocking up to the City ground with one defensive midfielder. Welcome to the Premier League, Fabian. To a man absolutely perfect from Forest perspective, and Nuno tactically outclassed Hertzler. We took that 5-0 loss at Bournemouth personally. Reece Coy, this is what happens when you're humble in defeat. The right response from everyone at the club, and the result really shows that Bournemouth was a blip, and our squad, with or without additions, is more than capable of getting European football. To a man fantastic 11 man of the matches today. Snowboard Pete, there isn't enough words in one tweet. Wow, just blooming wow. Not only bouncing back, but doing it emphatically. Morgan Gibbs-White, superb captain's performance. Alanga, brilliant assists and everywhere. Wood, clinical. Nico deserved that goal. Still on cloud nine. Blooming, brilliant day. Carl Booth, I had a feeling we'd get to see a reaction after what happened last week, but not that. Morgan was right with a masterclass. Wood with the goals, Alanga assists, and the returns of Danilo and Sangare incredible. Next 4 games should tell us where we finish, you Reds. Premier Elliott, I was very happy with Danilo and his quality in centre midfield today. It was also so lovely to see fans sing his song when he came off. Bet he loved it. Today's facts is The Undertaker from wrestling has a major phobia of cucumbers. I did laugh when I actually read this before doing the pod. Grant Fellows, last week, almost every player had an absolute stinker. This week, everyone was back to their best. We wanted a reaction, and we got an overreaction. Mark Baker, what a result and response. Anderson is arguably the best midfielder in the league. All week, Hertzler went on about how his players were precision and trained to exploit low block teams. Really, the disrespect he showed us with that lineup deserved a spanking. Forest fan and family, we drove up from Kent for yesterday, as we do every Saturday home match. Oh, Christian, a friend from Kent, worth every mile for every disappointing match we ever travelled to watch Forest. Absolutely brilliant. Loads of Brighton fans where we live, so my son's really looking forward to school this week. Jeff Rowe, pleased to have come out on top in what was a very close game with the little eye emoji. Danilo played like he hadn't been out for the team for months, slotted back in perfectly. Morgan was White running the show, and Wood doing what he does best. But my man of the match was Alanga, 3 assists, ran his arse off all game result. David Bullen, Gibbs White, Alanga, unreal. Both top performances. Felt Alanga today was elite, upped his game to a different level. The absence of Callum Hudson-Odoi, running direct, great end product, potential is massive. Also, shove the Brighton model up your arse. Martin Fretwell, unbelievable reaction. Still pinching myself. What a team Nuno has put together. And then last we'll do, because we've got loads, Capanosity. Stranger things happening. Forest upside down last week's performance. That reaction was different gravy. Forest ruthlessly exploited Brighton's tactical frailties. Couldn't see the Hinchell wood for the tricky trees. I mean, lots of nice little puns there from our mate Capanosity. We're going to do some player performances, guys. I'm going to get into yourself first of all, Lee Clark. I'm going to give you Danilo on his return to the starting lineup. Who, I mean, you take it away. To be fair, it's your turn to shine.
Yeah, he looked a little bit rusty, I'll be honest. But like I said earlier, I think that first goal, he basically highlights everything that Danilo brings to the team. He's always forward thinking. He's capable of playing that killer pass. He's almost like 2 different midfield roles rolled into one player, I find, because he's quite happy to kind of do the ugly bits and bobs as well as play passes like that. So, yeah, it was great to see him back. I think we spoke in the Nav before the game, actually, about Danilo, and it's almost like, I think people are a bit concerned because obviously he's had this serious injury, but I'm always less concerned when it's something, structural with a bone rather than a muscle or a ligament or something. I don't know. I've got complete confidence that he's gonna, be able to stay fit and keep producing the goods like he did yesterday. Like I say, it wasn't a perfect performance. I think a couple of the chances Brighton did have probably came from stray moments from him or loose passes, but. Yeah, I mean, we can afford him that in a game we've lost 7-0. It seemed like a nice game for him to come in, and get back to doing what he does for us. So yeah, I think after a performance like that, it's probably his share to lose now, and obviously we've got a bit of a break before the next game, haven't we? So it'll be interesting to see what sort of team he does pick for the cup game now, and whether he'll get any more minutes. But yeah, it was a positive performance, definitely.
Just before I move on to the next player, I did want to get maybe a thought from both of you about that midfield now, because adding Danilo and Sangare to the mix, it provides an excellent headache for Nuno. But I just like the look of Anderson, Danilo, and Gibbs White yesterday. It's just pure legs and horribleness, but with all quality as well. Do you know what I mean? They're all quite aggressive in their own in their own right. I mean, Reece, I'll start with yourself for that question.
Do we have to open up that can of worms?
Yeah.
Yeah, look, this is what happens in football now. Like, we have one game where everyone's played really well and everyone's like, that's the midfield we need to go with. This is the team we need to go with, blah, 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 blah. And then we lose one game and it's everybody's useless and we need to change it up. So we've got some good midfielders at the club. Elliot Anderson, I think, is pretty much a mainstay. I think everybody would agree with that. Obviously, Danilo's just come back from injury, so you are going to have to manage his. I know, like Lee said, it's a bone injury, so it should be a better heel. But you're going to have to manage his minutes a little bit because you don't want to, because obviously as well he's not got that match sharpness up to speed. And I know he looked great yesterday, but there might be a time where, because he's not played as much this season, he might get a little bit overrun, for example. Dominguez, I think, has been on the whole pretty good. I thought he'd come on yesterday and I thought he was excellent again. Obviously, he had the bad half last week at Bournemouth, as did everybody pretty much. Ryan Yates has had a good season as well. There's been games when, there's people saying, fair enough, probably wouldn't have him in the team for that game, but there's been games he's played where he's added. I think to the Leicester game as one example, and Liverpool away. There'd been more. Obviously, you've got Sangare, who's come back as well, who I thought actually looked good on the ball yesterday. Just that he gets ran past a bit too easy for me. But I guess I can afford him that a little bit because he's just come back from injury. But it was something that was happening before. And then the forgotten man, really, who's now sixth choice, is James Ward-Prowse. And to be honest, I'd expect him to go back. If he's sixth choice, he's probably going to want to go back, isn't he? As well, he's under, a new manager at West Ham now as well. I know they had the Athletic report about him being a good influence, etc., but he wasn't even on the bench yesterday. And, he's sixth choice. He's in the Premier League for someone of his calibre. He's probably he's not really good for anybody, is it? So I wouldn't surprise if that happened. And look, all these midfielders are going to contribute towards the end of the season. I've said this before, it's a squad game. I know on social media, people want to argue till the cows come home about who's better and who's, this. They're all going to have their impact. Just get behind them all. We're third in the league, and they're all going to, I'm sure, prove their worth towards the end of the season. And that's how I see it for me. I think Sangare will probably start at Exeter. And yeah, we'll just see what happens. But yeah, I think they've all got. I think under Nuno, sorry, I can't get my words out now. When Nuno trusts them, they can certainly prove at this level that they can play at this level and compete for Forest and get us. They've all shown this season that they can get us points on the board. So yeah, they'll all have the uses come end of the season. So we'll see what happens. We know Nuno likes changing it for certain opposition, so I'm sure they'll all get chances.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Lee, anything to add on the midfield kind of argument? I think it's just good to see that we've got these different options. The reason I say about Danilo is because he was left-footed, and it just offers a bit more balance for me. It's not. I'm saying like that's the midfield we should go with. Like Reece has reiterated, some really good points that everyone's got there.
Yeah, it's like a civil war.
I just love the nastiness of it all.
It's like a civil war on social media. Forest midfield, like they're all pitted against one another, and they're gonna have like a royal rumble to who's
quite nice argument, though, isn't it? It's quite nice to say who's good for our team, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? All right, Lee.
There is, Reece is right, to be fair, with that civil war comment, because it is very much, I don't know, it's always point scoring, isn't it? It's like, we're third in the league, there's just no need for it. Like, and, some will say I'm a massive hypocrite for saying that, because if I was to pick my strongest team, a certain player wouldn't be in it, and that apparently means that I hate him, and I think I don't like him, which is complete rubbish. It's just that I think we're better side when the midfield that we started the season with, Danilo and Sangare, it wasn't perfect, but there was a nice sort of blend. I kind of understood it. Sangare hasn't, he's not. Let's be honest about it. He's not fulfilled his price tag, has he, in a Forest shirt yet? And then Dominguez comes in. I like Dominguez. So all of a sudden, because I praise Dominguez, oh, you hate Yates. You never say anything positive about Yates. It's not like that. It's just that I prefer other players. I just think other players better. It's football. It's sport. It don't mean I'm right. Like people rightly say, all these managers have picked Ryan Yates. Fine. No problem with it. I've got no issues with it. Like Reece has said, he's had a good season for us this season, and no one can ever deny what he's done in a Forest shirt. He's largely been, part of what we've done in recent history, and that's he'll always get credit for that. Much like we've said about Cooper in the past as well. But I just think as you evolve over time, if we want to become a team that's kind of, challenging for European competition every season, then certain players will gradually slip down the pecking order. And will he be one of them? I don't know, because we've got so much quality in midfield. I just don't really know what will happen. But what I do know is that we do look a very good side when Danilo plays. And as Reece has said, we're not going to be dropping Elliot Anderson. I think he's stamped his, he's got that shirt and he's going to play every game. So you've got 5 or 6 other players playing for one position now. And yeah, Danilo yesterday, like I said earlier, he's probably got that shirt for now. So yeah, I just think if we want to be, competing for Europe every single season, someone like Danilo is going to be a mainstay in the team. As much as some people won't want to hear that, I suppose.
Just imagine, right, when we come up that in 3 seasons' time, someone would have said to you that James Ward-Prowse would be 6th choice centre mid at your club. You'd have laughed.
Yeah.
You'd have been, next joke. And that's the reality yesterday.
I know I feel a bit sorry for him, but I do think he will be of use to West Ham and Graham Potter. I mean, I was still shocked that we actually got him on loan personally, but we will move on before we create our own civil war on this podcast with midfield. We've talking about how good our midfielders are, which is, I mean, what a lovely problem to have. Reece, I'm going to give you Anthony Elanga, who I thought was, I mean, I don't really have many words for it. I thought he was absolutely outstanding yesterday, superb, and a hat trick of assists. You don't see it very often, but he was brilliant. I mean that the third assist he got. I mean I know we've spoke about it, but it sums up every quality he's got and something that I think he just needs to do. I just want to see more of it really, because it's just a cheat code.
I think I'm chairman of the Elanga fan club on this podcast. I'd say now. Yeah, I mean, what can you say? I mean, he's probably in the form of his career, isn't he? Let's be honest. Something I did mention probably a few pods ago now was the combination with Wood. How prevalent that was in matches gone by. Now we've got that back yesterday, two on a plate for Wood, and he scored both times. We look at the Burnley. We always mention the Burnley one, don't we, Adam, from last season where he put it on a plate. That was, the 3rd goal yesterday, but a bit more in the air, obviously. And yeah, he's absolutely flying at the minute. I think credit to Nuno as well, because he took him out the side when, there was obviously a clamour for Jota to play, which was fair enough. I wanted to stay behind Elanga, which I did, because I know there's a player in there. I know players can suffer from a lack of form, but there was definitely a player in there, because I saw that last season, and he's come back. He's probably got credit. I think it's John Dahl Tomasson, is Sweden's manager, who also dropped him from their squad. And that just seems to have, added that fire in his belly, because he's come back since then. He's been absolutely electric. Arguably, in the last, half a dozen games, probably, you could say, his best player, easily. I know there's a lot of candidates for that, but he's been that good. I mean, even last week, Adam, you mentioned it. He was probably the only one at Bournemouth who actually had a little bit of credit in the bank. So, yeah, it's absolutely fabulous. And there's just a couple of stats here. So, since when he signed, only Mo Salah, Bukayo Saka, and Ollie Watkins have got more Premier League assists than them. That's 3 players there who are playing for Champions League sides. You've got to bear in mind still that we finished 17th last season. And also, he's the first player since Brian Roy to get 3 assists in 1 Prem game for us. So he's absolutely flying. And long may it continue. And yeah, a masterstroke from Marinakis that we didn't entertain that Newcastle bid, because he's a massive part of our, form at the minute. And what I loved about him yesterday is what I mentioned earlier, is that he saw Lewis Dunk as a prey, and he was like a predator on him, and he ran him absolutely right. He put really retired him, didn't he, yesterday? That run down the line, he just couldn't deal with it. And yeah, fabulous to see. And long may it continue. He's absolutely incredible at the minute, Alanga.
Yeah, and firmly in the vibes cartel as well, Anthony Alanga. I mean, I'm always interested to see the Inside Forest videos and what clobber he's going to turn up. I mean, he's been getting rinsed by Olorina on
Yeah, I think
on social
the
media
bullies him.
I forgot what he called. I forgot what he called him the other day. It was like ASAP Rocky or something. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I think he's got Olorina behind him, like basically saying, "Well, if you don't do this, Anthony, I'm going to bully you later." So he just does it, doesn't he? But he was. To be honest, it was between him and Gibbs White, I say, for my man of the match, but because he played the 90 Alanga, I'd have given it to him. I thought he was sensational yesterday, Alanga.
Yeah, it's funny because obviously Wood get the headlines for scoring 3 goals, but yeah, Alanga was sensational, especially without Callum Hudson-Odoi, where we all worry about the balance of everything. But Nuno got it spot on with how we played and the wing backs and everything, and yeah, and every Man United fan I speak to, they completely regret Anthony Alanga leaving now, which is credit to us and credit to the scouting department for recognising that.
You know what though, he wouldn't have flourished at Manchester United. I don't think he wouldn't have got the game. He wouldn't have got the game time for a start. And it's absolutely mental as well. Just to finish it off, is that I've just mentioned 2 players there for man of the match, and I've not even mentioned the bloke who scored a hat trick. Such was the performance level yesterday. Yeah, fabulous.
Yeah, Lee, I'm going to give you Morgan Gibbs White was honestly ridiculous. It was a performance that says to Thomas Tuchel, pick me, because this is what I can offer. It wasn't even just on the ball, it was off the ball as well. I thought it was a real classy performance from Morgan Gibbs White, and he deserved his goal and 2 assists. He essentially does get 2 assists, doesn't he? Because the own goal was his pass, and the winning the penalty. You got to give it him, really. But yeah, on to 11 goal contributions this season. Although Flash Scores haven't given them 2 assists, which is annoying.
Have they not even given him 1?
No,
I think it only counts in FPL, doesn't it, as assists? I don't think. If it goes,
so it's abysmal.
Strange. Yeah, he was brilliant. It was a 10 out of 10 performance. Him and Alanga. I mean, you can never deny the bloke who scores a hat-trick getting the man of the match. I totally understood why he got the man of the match in the ground, but I think it would have. I agree with Reece. It would have had to have been Alanga or Gibbs White for me. Interestingly, he got sent off in the reverse fixture, didn't he? So I don't know if that gave him a little point to prove. Maybe it certainly felt like it. I don't know. I mean. Again, Reece has just said he's the secretary of the Anthony Alanga fan club. I think I'm firmly the secretary of the Morgan Gibbs White fan club because he's one player that I think should play every game. I know that there's been discussions in the past with some fans whether he should be out the team and Anderson's better as a number 10 and all that sort of stuff at the start of the season. But he's that sort of player that for me, you just play him. You pick your best team around someone like him. And yeah, I didn't actually know he was close to 100 games, to be honest. I was a bit surprised when that was doing the rounds on the socials and that afterwards. But yeah, he certainly brought up the 100 in style because, like you just said, Adam, it was a performance that said to the England manager, who will probably look back through the weekend's games and think, oh, need to get this lad in the team. So yeah, I think he might be the next one in line for a bit of a contract extension, to be honest, because obviously we've done the bits and bobs with Murillo and Wood, but yeah, I think he might be the next one that gets a little bit of a reward for his service to the club. And like I say, on yesterday's performance, we're going to do well to keep him because we're going to have to be qualifying for Europe on a regular basis to keep someone like him because some of the biggest clubs in Europe will be knocking on the door and asking questions about him, no doubt.
It's like when he puts that armband on as well, it's like it gives him a superpower. Yeah. He just seems to raise his game that extra bit, and that just shows how much he's matured under Nuno. Because the underlying narrative when Nuno come in was it was a bit didn't really work out at Wolves between them, and he's matured as just an all-round person, hasn't he? I know he's had obviously a kid off the pitch, etc., and he's turned into a leader for us. And that's something you probably. Wouldn't look at him and think he's a leader. But when you see him on the pitch, how he plays, see him barking orders. And that spine of the team, when obviously you've got like him and when Yates plays and obviously Milenkovic at the back, Chris Wood up top, who's an experienced captain for his country. So all over the pitch, you through the spine of the team, you've got leaders in the side, which is brilliant.
We went through some captains yesterday, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
It was
Willie
being
Bolly
tossed
had it on
around.
in the end, didn't he?
It's like pass the parcel at one point with the
Yeah.
armband.
Well,
Was
put
it
it
like
this
a
way.
hot,
I mean,
it
I
was
don't
hot
know.
potato,
I don't
wasn't it,
know.
when Wood went off?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys can remember, but can you remember the Spurs away game last season when it was being passed around like it didn't mean anything? Well, yeah, I think Nuno's actually clamped that out, hasn't he? And it does mean something to captain this football club. Because last year it was like no one wanted to take responsibility. Well, that now we're doing fabulous. They all want it on the arm. I mean, Bolly actually put it back on his arm, didn't he, when he got that frame shirt? So yeah.
I just think it speaks volumes. I mean, there was a report in The Athletic that we were looking to extend Gibbs White's contract, I believe, not too long ago, and he was quite eager to do that as well. I think from his own point of view, because he's so settled in Nottingham. I think him and his girlfriend and his young son have really settled here and are enjoying life. I think like he's come to a club where he's been instantly shown the love, and I think that's why he's been able to flourish with us personally. I think that's why he was so good at Sheffield United in that playoff season. I think he got the same sort of respect there as well when they had him, and he was fabulous for him during that playoff run they had as well. Obviously, thankfully, he missed that penalty against us because who knows where we'd be. I think he said that in an interview. It was a sliding doors sort of moment. So, no, great to have someone like that at our club for 100 games. Great that he's going to put his name in the hat for an England call up. I think in the next month or so it is. I think is it March, Reece? I think you'll know more than me. And what a difficult headache Thomas Tuchel could have if Mo Gibbs White continues that form. But we will move on, guys, and we've got Fulham. We've got Exeter before Fulham. We'll talk about Exeter actually. So FA Cup game coming up, Lee. Just how hard is that game going to be? Because I know Exeter in League One, but it's not going to be an easy game, and it's the magic of the FA Cup. Although I hate that it's on a Tuesday night. I really hate that, especially for not only for Exeter fans and Forest fans, but for just the actual cup game itself. Anyway, I just think it's a bit rubbish on a Tuesday. It takes it away a bit.
I know what you mean, but I think they're damned if they do and damned if they don't, aren't they? Because I think we're clearly playing on Tuesday so they can get all the lowest ranked teams on the telly. I think if push came to shove, I mean, I know exactly what you're going to say because I agree with you. A game like Man United v Leicester, I'm not being funny, but it's two teams who are bloody scrapping it out for relegation. Why do we need to watch that on the bloody telly for the FA Cup? I agree, but these TV chat, they're going to put teams on that are going to get the viewers in, aren't they? That's how they're making their money. So yeah, I do agree, but I think if push had come to shove, that game was probably one that maybe would have missed the cut if they'd not changed the date to a Tuesday. So I do get it. It's weird because every time, obviously since we drew Exeter, I've been keeping an eye out for the results, and every time I seem to check the result, they're getting whacked like 6 and 5 and 4. So as I said to someone I go to the game with yesterday, we'll probably win 1-0. It'll be the scrappiest game ever. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's not going to be an easy game, but without being disrespectful, it should be. With the squad we've got and the players we've got, that we could probably make 11 changes, play the team that played against Luton, for example, and it should be a game that we would fancy coming through in routine fashion. But as we know, the FA Cup doesn't always pan out like that. So obviously we still need to. I think it's good that we're in a position where we can kind of rotate the pack a bit. If we'd lost yesterday, for example, we'd be going into it on the back of 2 defeats. All of a sudden, Nuno's got a bit of a headache. Do I go really strong to get that winning feeling back? So yeah, it's good that we've bounced back in the league. Yeah, it will be a tough game, but like I say, without being too disrespectful, it's a draw that you would, when it came out, it was like Reece is obviously going down and gets to tick another of the 92 off. It should be a great night for the fans. But yeah, it's a game that we should be winning. Let's be brutally honest about it.
Do you expect wholesale changes, Reece? Do you think it'll be like we did against Luton, like Lee just pointed out?
Yeah, I'd imagine so, mate, because I know they're all going to Dubai, aren't they? I believe Marinakis has paid for them all to go to Dubai, probably do some warm weather training, some relaxing, because I don't think we've got a Premier League game now till I think it's 12 days till Fulham, something like that, 12 or 13 days. So
yeah, it's quite a nice one.
Yeah, it's ideal, mate. It's exactly, I think, what you need. It's something that Brian Clough used to go on about, didn't he? He said you can't do anything to the top of your ability unless you relax. We see it in normal life, don't we? You have a break and you come back and your batteries are recharged and you go again. So, to be honest, mate, on the face of it, I think all the signs are pointing it should be routine. I'm just looking at like Exeter's form now. They've conceded 13 goals in the last 3 games. They conceded 6 at home to Leyton Orient in midweek, 4 again yesterday. I mean, the manager's probably on the brink of getting the sack, to be honest, looking at the form. It's no wins in 8 in the league. The only win in that time obviously come in the FA Cup against Oxford, who that's their only game they've lost under Gary Rowett at Oxford. So as Gary Rowett probably just chucked that game, to be honest, and because he's come in to keep them up, not to really go on an FA Cup run. So as I'm not taking anything away from Exeter there, but because obviously it's a scout because Oxford in the higher league. But I seen they sold one of their players to Luton the other day, so I'd imagine he's one of their better players if he's going up a level. So to be honest, mate, it should be routine. I know we all know what the FA Cup's like, but we should be able to make a number of changes as we did against Luton, still look pretty good, and we should come through that tie pretty comfortably. I mean, anything but, I'd say a 2-goal win would be is what's needed, really. An early goal would be ideal because, to be honest, I actually think if we got an early goal down there, I think we might hammer them. But I'm under no illusions that what the FA Cup's like, but you just got to go on the facts and the figures, haven't you? And you look at Exeter and they're not pulling up any trees in the league at the minute. They're shipping goals for fun. And, I've had a look at their Twitter and a few are calling for the manager's head. So, like Lee said, on the face of it, it looks a pretty good tie, don't it? Hopefully these words won't come back to bite me. But look, if we lose to them, then, they've got to take the stick because it's, a Premier League side against a League One team who are struggling. So we should have no real issues, in my opinion, down there. I think it should be, we should be going there and looking for a comfortable win, personally.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great opportunity to progress in the FA Cup, and Nuno's obviously he loves it because he said that in the first season. I mean, we made a bit of a hash trying to get past 2 championship sides at the time, but we were also struggling under a new manager. But let's hope it's relatively routine. Lee, what kind of score prediction are you going to go with?
I will go for a routine win. I think it'll be 3-0. I think, like Reece says, if we get an early goal, that should kind of kill any momentum that they've got, I think. So yeah, I'll go for 3-0. But obviously, like Reece has just said as well, it could be more. It might turn scrappy. I don't know. I don't really know what their game plan will be. I mean, their main focus is going to be to stay in League One, isn't it? So it's all about the occasion for them. So it's just how they deal with it. But yeah, I'll go with a 3-0 win. I think it'll be pretty comfortable.
Reece?
It will be interesting because I can't imagine them having more of the ball than us getting you a League One side. They're probably going to be sat back and it's going to be a different kind of, interesting one. But yeah, I think I'm going to go with Lee. I think a 3-0. Like I say, if we can get that early goal, it wouldn't surprise me if it was more because I'm just looking at the goals they're shipping at the minute. 6. I mean, I think was he 3-0 down after a quarter of an hour the other night against Orient, I think it was. And I mean, I remember Lee putting back on and got a couple back. He still ended up 6-2. So yeah, we've got early goal down there, and I think we'll have no issues. And that's not underestimating Exeter. That's just the reality of what we are at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, I just looked if they'd got a fixture on the Saturday, and they don't have one either. So we've got both the same resting sort of time. But I expect a bit of a rout, to be honest. I think we might win 5-0 or something ridiculous. It could be one of them sort of score lines because I think we're gonna make what, probably 11 changes, and you're gonna have players who are like really biting at the bit to try and worm their way into Nuno's thoughts, aren't you? And people who need match fitness, essentially, like with Danilo and Sangare, you might see both of them play. Who knows? But it's a great it's great to have that squad depth that we've got. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's quite nice to play a lower league side that you've never played before. Like you say, Reece, you're going to tick it off your list. I'm sure many other travelling fans are going to be doing the same thing. So
not played
I hope
since the 1950s.
I hope so. That's amazing.
So, for those who follow the pod on Twitter, there won't be any on this days against Exeter this week. I'm afraid. I'm scraping.
We'll just post like
footage.
We'll just post some old.
We'll do some
great goals.
Yeah, random League One goals. We'll do that.
Did Paul Konchesky score a worldie for us? Get that on there. I'm sure that will do the numbers. But no, I think Christian said he found an Exeter fan to come on the pod and have a chat with us. So I'm sure we'll bring you that within the next week or so.
Did Exeter beat Derby at any point when they were in League One? Maybe we could put the highlights of that up instead. That might lift the spirits.
Lift the spirits. We don't need the spirits lifted. We won 7-0. Fine.
Yeah, I'm sure I can get some good League One goals, and that's obviously with them being in League One, and I'll do something.
Just Lewis McGugan scoring, banging free kicks. Yeah, definitely. But no, thank you very much for everyone that's joined us on this week's pod. I hope you enjoyed it. I mean, it was a bit of a long one with how many goals we scored to talk about. Go on.
Just before we go, Adam, I just need to do the Billy competition.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. Hope if anyone's not listened to the Billy Davis podcast, please go and do it because it's really good. It's more football orientated than anything political or anything that happened with anything controversial his time at the club. It's pure football. He was really good on it, I thought. And I mean, I've listened to it back this week, and I thought he was in tremendous form, I thought. And we're really looking forward to the evening. So Reece, take it away.
Yeah, because we got a couple of comments in before when we put the trail up of disappointing comments, but that's it. But every comment after people have listened to it has been really positive. I think every comment's been positive. So if you did like it, or obviously give us a comment on iTunes, a review and that, and a subscribe on YouTube or whatever, trying to get them numbers up, because I think we're 7 off 1,500 on YouTube subscribers. So if we can get to that by the end of the week, that'd be lovely. So so this is a competition for people on Twitter who obviously retweeted the post. So this is me little website. I've got the link. So I'm gonna fire it away and see who's won it for 2 VIP tickets. So it's searching for a winner now. So there we go. So that's at Tricky Rich, should I say, 123. So I'll contact him and I'll take a screenshot and I'll contact him in due course. So he's the winner of the Billy Davis competition.
He's the winner, right? Well, brilliant. We'll end the pod there then, guys, and hopefully you've all enjoyed it. If you can drop us a like, subscribe, as Reece said, it's all free. So we enjoy doing this, especially when we're in 7-0. It's bloody marvellous. We'll see you in the next one when we get an Exeter fan on, and then obviously we've got Fulham coming up, so I'm sure we'll do something for that with either amongst ourselves or with a Fulham fan if we can get one. But until then, enjoy the rest of your Sundays. Come on, you Reds.